This new secretary silenced his CEO in front of his company, and the reason is unpredictable. By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the story. He was Connor Maxwell, worth hundreds of millions, feared by every employee who worked under him. Ruthless in negotiations, merciless in the boardroom, and known for crushing anyone who stood in his way. But behind the polished glass walls of his empire, he was planning something far darker. A heist so precise it would strip his own company of millions without anyone realizing. And the one person who would bring him down wasn't a detective or a rival CEO. It was Riley Parker, the secretary he never meant to hire. Riley's first day at Maxwell Enterprises had already started badly. The elevator in her apartment building had jammed, the bus was late, and she was convinced she was about to walk into the biggest job of her life, looking like she had just survived a storm. The lobby of the company was a monument to wealth, marble floors that reflected the morning light like water, glass walls stretching up to a ceiling so high it felt like a cathedral. In her hands, she carried a tray with 2 coffees. One for herself, one for the CEO. She'd never met Maxwell, but she'd heard the stories. He wasn't the kind of man you spilled coffee on. And yet, fate had other plans. As she rounded a corner too quickly, her heel caught on the slick floor. The tray tilted. The cups tumbled forward in slow motion, splattering scalding coffee across the chest of a man whose suit looked like it belonged in a museum display. Maxwell stopped. Not to wipe the stain. Not to shout. But to look at her. His gaze was cold, steady, and unsettlingly calm. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" His voice was soft, but there was weight in it, the kind that made your stomach drop. I'm so sorry," Riley stammered, reaching for napkins she didn't have. 10 minutes. My office." He walked away without another word. The elevator ride felt longer than her commute. She stepped into his office to find him standing at the window, hands in his pockets, the skyline spread out behind him like a painting. He didn't acknowledge her apology. Instead, he handed her a thick folder. "Work for today. Let's see if you're more competent with numbers than with coffee." For the next few days, Riley learned that Maxwell's version of a secretary was someone who could be summoned at any hour to dig through old files, verify obscure transactions, and track down documents buried in storage rooms no one had entered in years. He was demanding, precise, and strangely focused on certain accounts. Then one morning he called her in. There was something different in his tone, urgent, but measured. "The Federal Audit Office has opened an investigation," he said. "They suspect tax fraud. Someone on the inside leaked our financial data." "Leaked it? To who?" Riley asked. He shook his head. "That's what I need to find out. I want you to review the books with fresh eyes. You notice details others miss." Riley wasn't sure why he trusted her with something so sensitive, but she didn't argue. She didn't know that this was the beginning of a much bigger game. The investigation was Maxwell's invention, a distraction designed to keep the board, the investors, and the employees focused on a phantom threat while he moved millions into places no one would think to look. Her first week into the records, she found something odd. Hartman and Associates, a company paid $20,000 every month for strategic consulting over the last 2 years. She'd never heard of them. When she asked around, neither had anyone else. When she brought it to Maxwell, he raised his eyebrows just enough to look surprised. "Interesting. I'll have legal look into it," he said, before changing the subject. But Riley noticed something. He didn't write it down. He didn't ask for details. And for the briefest second, there was a flicker in his expression. Not worry. Satisfaction. The deeper she dug, the stranger it got. Accounts that existed only on paper. Transfers sent to temporary holding that never came back. Invoices for services that couldn't be verified. It was like chasing shadows. Then Maxwell told her they'd be attending a charity gala hosted by Hartman and Associates. "I want to watch a few people closely," he said. "You'll be more convincing on my arm." That night, the ballroom glowed gold under crystal chandeliers. Wealth whispered through every detail: the champagne, the dresses, the way people laughed too softly. Riley wore black, simple but elegant, and kept her eyes moving. Maxwell was effortless in the crowd, shaking hands, exchanging pleasantries, but his attention kept drifting toward the stage where an art auction was set to begin. When the 19th century oil painting appeared under the spotlight, his eyes fixed on it. The bidding was tense, but Maxwell didn't hesitate. Each time the price climbed, he raised his hand without flinching. When the hammer fell, the painting was his. He smiled, not like a collector who'd won a prize, but like a man who had just finished moving a chess piece into checkmate. In truth, the painting was just a vessel. Its value was measured not in brushstrokes, but in how quickly it could be sold overseas under a different name, transforming stolen funds into clean, untraceable money. Over the next week, Riley connected the dots. Hartman and Associates. The offshore accounts. The fake audit. The painting. Everything pointed to Maxwell. She didn't confront him. Not yet. She waited. The board meeting was her moment. The room was packed with executives, investors, and a few members of the press. Maxwell stood at the head of the table, ready to announce the company had been cleared of all suspicion. "Before you continue," Riley said, rising from her seat, "there's something the board needs to hear." Maxwell didn't stop her. She laid it out in careful order: the shell companies, the fabricated investigation, the offshore trusts, and finally, the painting already traced overseas. The room was silent but for the scratch of pens on paper. Security entered. 2 federal agents followed. They walked directly to Maxwell. As they cuffed him, he turned his head toward her. "You learned well," he said softly. That night, at home, Riley's phone buzzed. A deposit alert. Offshore. Anonymous. The note read, "For when you decide to stop playing fair." If you like the video, please like and subscribe our channel.